So, hello everybody. Very nice to meet you all, and so nice to meet you, Andrea. Uh,
Hi.
this is everybody. This is Andrea, and we will introduce ourselves a little bit later. And uh, this we started on behalf of making like a free space for anybody to come and discuss wholesome things, and even for future generations to, because we see so many things that are happening online, no, and many things. So we can bring very wholesome things for people. And Andrea has plenty of experiences. I also can share, and we have been, trying to help people for decades. So we can bring all those expertise also, and you anytime you can contact any of us individually also. And if there are even questions, yeah, later on, even if somebody is watching these videos, they can ask through that. Or definitely Andreas and our contacts will be there in the video. If you need to directly contact, you can always contact. So yeah, so I'll please hand over to Andrea. Andrea, would you like to please introduce yourself?
Hi. So my name is Andrea, and I am a biopsychosynthesis and Reiki, Jikiden Reiki practitioner. And I work mainly with people who are highly sensitive or neurodivergent, just mainly people who feel different. So the way I see it, one of my passions, the thing that I'm really passionate about, is to help people find their self and find their true self and find out their life purpose.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll just tell a little bit of. I'm Sanjivana, and many people call me Sanji because it's easy. Our names are very long, yeah? So this is a glimpse of it, and uh, yeah, it's so difficult, like tongue twisters and all. So yeah, I'm a meditation teacher. I was a monk for a long time, and now I do like meditation teaching, and there's a lot of things involved. So there's more. It's more towards the holistic side, and there's like counseling, life coaching. So it goes all the way. We do a lot of charity work also, and even there were many instances like even it went to the ranges of like even suicidal preventions, rebuilding lives, sober therapies. These kind of things also happened just by meditation also, but other things are also involved within that. So there are ancient methods, and also it's very nice we can share all these things. Yeah. So I remember like when I was talking to Andrea, we had a discussion also, no, before, and it was very nice. And so uh, she mentioned, my curiosity and goal in life is finding my true self, and then the other things that are associated with this, no. Uh,
Mm.
so we'll make that we can go for like happiness, peace, lot of subtopics around that. We are talking on behalf of everyone, no, because we people seek in ancient times, so they used to seek like what is the goal of life, right? uh,
Yeah.
what is, no, why am I here, no, what is the purpose, what am I supposed to do? At some point in life we try to contemplate on this, no.
Mm.
So first of all, like I would like to, when you said that profession, please, I would really like to know that terminology you mentioned
Oh,
with
the
Reiki.
biopsychosynthesis, Reiki, and which one, the Reiki or the
No, the other one, please.
biopsychosynthesis? The biopsychosynthesis.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing is that I have my degree is a level 7 degree in psychosynthesis counseling. But
Uh-huh.
I think I was telling you before. So one of the person who the psychiatrist who actually developed this therapy model, his
Uh-huh.
name is Roberto Assagioli. He was Italian,
Uh-huh.
and he actually called it in the beginning biopsychosynthesis because he believed that you need to look at the whole thing. You need to look at the mind, you need to look at the
Mm-hmm.
feelings, and you need to look at the body. So I started using that now. So my
Oh.
training was actually in psychosynthesis,
Uh-huh.
but I really like the way he called it biopsychosynthesis. So I actually started using that.
Ah, okay.
thinking like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm a biopsychosynthesis because I do work with the body. You can't. I believe that as a therapist, you can't really work with the mind if you don't work with the body as well. And I think
Uh-huh.
you do meditation as well, so you know the importance of the connection of the
Uh-huh.
mind body feeling. So that's one. That's the psychosynthesis side. And I think with Jikiden Reiki, again, it's one of the most uh, traditional forms of Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, um, it doesn't have any Western influences at all. So in the
Mm-hmm.
Western influence, people brought in crystals and a few other things and
Mm-hmm.
the chakras. But in Jikiden Reiki, you just have basically the energy that is transmitted through the palm of your hands.
Hands.
You just use your hands either
Uh-huh.
in person or you can do this at distance as well. So I think when I started to learn Reiki is when I realized the importance of the body. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why I like to use it together with psychosynthesis. I think with biopsychosynthesis, I think it works quite well together. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I tried on myself and I think it works well together. So I don't really know
Ah,
how it,
okay. Uh-huh.
I guess it depends on every person, what
Uh.
they like, how they feel about things.
So when you say psychosynthesis, what kind of aspects? So is it related to psychology or?
Yes, it is. So basically, when we talk about psychosynthesis, I'm going to tell you a bit about how I see it and how I
Sure,
understand it,
sure.
because you can learn the theory,
Uh-huh.
but then when you start practicing on yourself, you kind of start to see it in a bit of a different way. So
Mm-hmm.
from my own experience, what I kind of and I'm not even talking about my client work, but I've noticed that it kind of mirrors what I work with my clients as well.
Uh-huh.
Biopsychosynthesis is about um, bringing together these different parts that we have of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because we're more than one self. We have
Mm-hmm.
different parts of ourselves, and each one of them is different.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of these parts actually appeared maybe a moment in our life when there was something traumatic, maybe something happened. And it's about getting to know these parts
Uh-huh.
yourself and bringing them together in a way that is more conscious, in a
Oh.
way that is more you're more aware of. So it's a model. I really like it. I think I was telling you before that I'm happy that I'm talking to you today because there are a few things that I actually want to talk to you about, because
Uh-huh.
it has a few concepts that actually tie quite well into your life and what you do. So
Uh-huh.
I'm curious to hear your opinion about this as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, sure, sure, sure.
you
We
know,
both discuss, eh?
we will. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So, would you like to address those topics, or or would you like to go through this topic of finding the true self?
Well, I think it's kind of the same thing
Ah,
because I
same
think
thing.
when you, yeah, if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look, when you think about when you think about the true self, I think it is becoming a topic that we see quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to kind of question, okay, who am I? What's my
Mm-hmm.
purpose? What am I doing here? And I think about you hear a lot about authenticity, quite a lot in online, and I don't think we actually fully become aware of how much work it takes to find out yourself.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of awareness, and there's a lot of letting go. There's a lot of looking at the wounds, and it's not just about I don't know, becoming aware of a few things. It's about really deep work. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a long time, and I think it takes years. Maybe the way I see it, I think it's a journey that probably is going to take me the rest of my life. Which,
Yeah, yeah, surely.
yeah,
Maybe sometimes lifetimes even, right?
I believe in that. So yes,
Yeah.
I think lifetime stay. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
then I think, like in modern society, this is a crucial thing because some people
Mm.
just identify themselves in different ways, and then and now it's kind of like ridiculed even. Some
Mm.
people identify themselves as a cat or a dog, and then the other people like they ridicule it, and yeah, really, it happens. And then I saw like one place like this for like ridiculation, and they were not able to go to an area that you could not take photos. And then
Really?
like there are some places you can, they say don't use cameras, no.
Oh yeah.
And then one of his friends said like, so some security personnel came and said you cannot take photos, maybe he was holding a camera, right? And
Mm.
then his friend, or the person there who was there, I don't know whether it was who was from the gender, but they said like this person identifies say, as a camera. So actually then the security person also stood back and said okay, okay, then you can. So it has go and then one person went to the bank and said I identify myself as a millionaire and I want to take a loan of $1 million, and he was like escorted out of the bank. So, so
I love it.
yeah, yeah, these are real true
Oh
stories. Huh?
wow.
So
Wow.
people are like trying to play around it with also say like
Mm.
self identification, and some
Mm.
had gone to the extreme like they demand in schools because their child identified as a specific feline or
Mm.
as a like a our pet animal or no. So so they need even like kitty litter. Really, this is really happening in the bathroom areas.
Mm.
uh,
I didn't know that.
this is a real things, eh? So and at home also I don't know how it is, but at school they have demanded, the parents have demanded my child is identifying as a cat.
Mm.
So they need, so some people I saw, this is bit sad, like because of some reason of their physicality, uh, they use it as a mask to, so one person was wearing like a costume, but actually because she felt bad about her physique, so and maybe she was bullied, but this is another thing. But those
Mm.
people, they like, some people even do facial tattoos and all these things, sharpen their teeth, yeah, slit their tongues and things also, and even like change the bone structures, eat and like that also. So this is and they demand for other people also to recognize themselves as that. So I think like this is a good topic you bring, because in especially in the modern generation also there's a big uh, big how to say, a big uh, uh, maybe a gap of
Mm.
how to self realization, no, like to identify even. uh,
Mm.
so what are your thoughts about that, Andrea?
Well, I was see because when you were talking about that, what I was actually hearing a bit like between the lines of what you're talking about was also that in our society today what we have is a lack of understanding and a lack of empathy for other people and
Mm-hmm.
how they want to identify. Because you know, if somebody wants to identify as a cat, that's fine by me. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants to identify as something else, that's it's whatever they
Mm-hmm.
want to do. But I think it becomes a problem when it affects another person in not a good way. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's when it becomes a problem. When I don't know, honestly, not even one example comes to my mind
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. But I
Uh-huh.
think the idea of identification with the one that I was trying to talk about before, I think even in psychosynthesis, it is all the things that you said. So it's like
Uh-huh.
identification in any form. I think the identification that I was kind of thinking about and the type of things that I'm kind of working on more is the identification with parts of ourselves that are actually quite they stop us from being our true selves.
Mm-hmm.
So we are stuck in these identification of the wounds, what happened to us a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, and we just can't move on. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the identification is literally so strong that we can't even think that we can be in a different way. We can't even
Mm-hmm.
think about maybe someone being so identified with with your pain and with your traumas, that you can't even, you're stuck in that state of hopelessness, or you're stuck in that place of anger and resentment, and you just
Mm-hmm.
can't forgive, you just can't let go.
Mm-hmm.
So these are more the things about the identification when it comes to the self. So not so
Mm-hmm.
much about the people around. I think the
Sure.
focus that I try to bring in my work is about, okay, let's look at you, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with the client in session, and I'm
Mm.
interested in you, like what's happening with you right now. It's not so much about the people
Sure, sure.
around you,
Uh,
but let's just see what you identify with, and let's
mm-hmm.
see what is happening in your life that you're holding on to quite tightly, and it's
Mm.
stopping you from maybe having more love in your life, or having more, I don't
Mm.
know, more connection, like true connection in your life,
Mhm.
and just things like that. But
Mm.
one of the things that I'm actually, and I'm glad that you brought this in, because one of the one of the concepts, one of the core concepts of biopsychosynthesis is this idea of disidentification. And
Mhm.
every time I think about this, I think about the Buddha.
Uh-huh.
When he was sitting under the tree, and when he actually managed to disidentify, to detach from
Mhm.
everything. So I was actually curious to hear your opinion about this, because this is something that you, as many years as a Buddhist monk, you probably you've done, like
Mhm.
in meditation. And what do you think about this identification and the
Yeah.
ego?
Uh-huh. Yeah, there are many, many ways of explaining. I'll just tell you a simple story, then it
Mm.
will ease things out. And so one time there was a warrior. I don't know male or female, but it says warrior. So and then uh, they had to go through many battles, no? So they won some, they lost some, maybe sometimes injured. It then so after some time, this warrior was like kind of tired of fighting. At some point, they come. No, maybe first they were very thrilled to do so, but and then when he stopped, or this person stopped fighting, this person realized he had a very precious, maybe a pearl, very expensive, no, or a gemstone. Maybe you heard this story before, right?
No, I haven't.
Ah,
No,
okay,
no,
okay. It's
okay.
very nice. I also like stories, and there are many. So then he was like remembering this, and he wondered where he had this person had dropped it, no, because it was lost. Then he thought, okay, like now the interest in fighting is no more. Then now this person wants to find that precious, either stone or pearl, and so he this person thought maybe I backtrack and see. So this person was searching in the places where they fought. I mean, and trying to search. So he was going, and then he was like kind of like now very desperate. Also, desperate means like the urge to find this. So whoever came, like this person used to ask like, "Did you see this precious thing? I had it all the time, and now it's gone." And it comes to that point, no? And you're seeking it so much, and then so you want some guidance or some even some help, no, from whoever, no. And then later like so then one person said like, okay, there's a wise person, why don't you go and meet this person and ask. uh, then oh, he was so pleased, no. And then this person went uh, and met this person and asked like, oh, said I was searching all this time, I had this precious stone or pearl. And I'm searching, and I went back all the places, and I really need it, no? And then the wise person just pointed the finger and asked, like, did you, like, to his forehead, no? Did you check your headband? And he just removed the headband, and it was there. All the time. When he was fighting, when he stopped fighting, when he was backtracking, when he was asking all the people, and somehow they came across some person or some direction, no? And then it was pointed, and then he found it was always there. So, like this self realization or understanding about the true self is also processed like this. First, we are in like worldly fights, fight means not physical even, but we are in like a shamble. No, we have so many stuff to do, even as kids. Studies, do this, do that, no? Then it goes on, then maybe later parts of the life. But at some point, you think like, what is this? No, is this like we said, no? Like at some point, we feel like, what is my purpose here? Is this my life even? No. Uh, then you remember you had even like very precious things in life. Uh, then you think like you maybe I lost it somewhere. Then you start backtracking. You can even go in like psychology or even you can go to seek the inner child, do holistic practices, meditation, hypnosis, lot of things, right? Then you try to backtrack. If you can even pass lives, no, it is also possible. And then what happens is, then you ask many people, and sometimes they send you in many directions, or you start reading books, you start seeking. Uh, I'm not pointing fingers, but anything, no. And when you really want it or the really need it, the
Mm,
urge is so much you would even travel to like far and very distant places. Or when you hear like there's a good place here, no, somebody who can find it for you, and then like at some point you get a proper direction or a guidance. Then later at some point we realize that this gemstone or the pearl was always there.
mm,
We didn't just remove the or like if this was like ignorance or something, a piece of cloth that was covering it, it was just a fragile piece of cloth, right? Headband
mm,
is not like yards of or like meters of clothing, no. Uh,
mm,
but it was covering it actually. So likewise, with the things we have, the thought processes and all emotions, a trauma, it's like the pieces or piece of cloth that covers,
mm,
but it has a buried treasure in it. At some point, for some reason, if you take it off, you can witness, okay, this is my true self. This is what I am really for.
mm.
Does it make sense?
Oh, it makes sense. I was actually thinking when you were talking about the cloth, I was thinking about the the similarity between that and that idea of Maya, the veil of illusion. I
Amida.
think yeah. So it's really it's really interesting because I think from my own experience of going on this journey of trying to find out who I am, it is you kind of come back to yourself, and I think in the beginning when you start this journey, it kind of feels like it's a bit outside. So you're trying to find it kind of like outside until you realize that actually, yeah, it's always inside. You just I don't think we were taught how to do that. We were not taught how to connect um, with ourself, with our core. But yeah, I like that. I like the story. I think it's a nice story. I haven't heard it before. But I do like these stories every time I in different uh, type of religions. I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but yeah, I do like them.
Uh-huh. What was that? The ideology of Maya. Please tell a little bit more, Andrea, about it.
Oh, it's the same thing as this idea of it's like the veil of illusion.
Uh-huh. Maya.
Is this idea that there's like this veil of illusion over our eyes, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't perceive reality as it is.
Mm-hmm.
We perceive it as we basically the way I see it, we perceive it through our experiences, our life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Because if something happened to you, that's kind of like you wearing glasses, right? That
Uh-huh.
are formed with through that experience. So
Mm.
you're not going to see it reality as it is. You're just going to see it from what you've experienced before. So it's a bit about that. That's what I was thinking about. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's kind of what it
No,
made me
no,
think
yeah,
about.
it's
Just kind of
quite
came
similar.
to my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So in a
yeah.
Buddha's perspective, oh my goodness, like there was a nice sutta, and a person asked him, like, it's very profound when you think back. And there was a person who asked, like, who are you, no? And Buddha was silent. And he asked, like, who are you? Are you a deity? He said, no. Uh, then asked, like, are you a demon? He said, no. Then finally, after a long list, he asked, even if, are you a human? Then also Buddha said, no.
Mm.
Uh, so then later he had said, Anant, Anantajina. Anantajina means like, it means like, because he was freed from the shackles of defilements.
Mm.
So I won, he said. I'm a person who had won.
Mm.
But it didn't say like whichever. So in the aspect, like, in a conceptual way, people would call him Buddha, or no, any, like any other spiritual leader or anything. But in
Mm.
reality wise, he didn't identify as such when that person was even asking whether he was a human being, even not that
Mm.
he was like to show that he's special or anything, because he wanted to give him a message and show, like, but it said this person didn't realize at that point. He said it could be, and he had gone, and he had fallen into a lot of trouble, and then he had backtracked and came back. Really, it's a long story, but he had said maybe, no, and he had gone. And but he didn't catch it. But he wanted to show, like, within the phenomena of ever change, like we had different identifications when we were kids. We were sometimes superheroes, right?
Mm.
When you're playing, or cartoon figures or anything, no, like, but it was, if somebody was watching, or luckily they didn't, if they didn't video these things, it will look like very funny, or like sportsmen or football players or any, according to what we did. So we
Mm.
used to imagine, no, and it was kind of nice also. And we took and even like trees also as people, and no, even the chairs and everything, all people, no. So but we also like, and when we were becoming teenagers, it changed
Mm.
sometimes with some arrogance also, maybe, like, we think like we can topple the world, maybe, or we can be bullied. It also can happen, then you fall into a low, or sometimes the opposite. Or you
Mm.
can feel good at it, or good about yourself, or if you are like excelling in studies and all, I'm so intelligent, or some people can even be proud of it. No, it can happen in different ways, no.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then the young adult times, and then even as you mature. And it says, like, even the mind, there's a nice example of a person, say, when they're at home, they could be the mother or the father,
Mm.
but the same person, when they are maybe driving, they become a driver.
Yeah.
Maybe when they are shopping, how to say, they become a customer, the same person, right? And maybe when they are at their work or profession, they become according to that respective profession. And
Mm.
maybe on the road, they all become pedestrians.
Yeah.
So according to that, it changes, right?
Mm. Yeah.
According to our emotions, oh, I'm an angry person, no, I'm a happy person, no, or either way, right?
Yeah. Well, I think this is why, when we started, and you were telling me to introduce myself, and this is the thing about identification, because if you would have asked me this maybe like a year ago, you know,
Uh-huh.
who are you? I would have said, oh, I'm a psychosynthesis therapist. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
a so it was this I am. But
Uh-huh.
then I realized this is not who I am. This is what I do, but
Mhm.
this is not who I am. I
Mhm.
am I am not I'm not that. And I think what I like about the identification, I think what you said about the Buddha, that was really, I really like that, what you said. That,
Mhm.
he was asked, who are you? Are you this? Are you this? And he said, no, 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 no. Because I think this is the true, oh, I think this is where the true self is.
Mhm.
Is the true self, for me, I think it's this idea of true, this identification. When um, you're going beyond these, I don't know, let me just try this, because I can't really find the right word.
Perceptions, ideology.
Yes, but it's a bit more than just mental understanding.
Okay.
You're going so much more than this. I have a story about this.
Yeah,
It's a
please.
personal story actually, which it really freaked me out when it happened.
Uh-huh.
Um, so in the past few years, I went really deep into my journey. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was I was going to like a hermit mode for a
Mm.
few years. I
Wow.
started during the pandemic, and then it was kind of
Uh-huh.
exploring all psychosynthesis and Reiki together and going deep into my journey. And I was kind of some of these identifications that I had were just dropping away, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so confusing at one point because I remember coming to Romania last year, and I remember seeing some friends of mine, and people were asking me, "How are you?" And I used to say, "I don't know. I
Uh-huh.
really don't. I don't know how I am, and I don't know who I am anymore." So
Uh-huh.
you get to this point in your journey where you really, when you drop this identification, it's really scary. If
Mm-hmm.
it's like a proper letting go of an identity, it's really
Mm-hmm.
scary because you just don't know who you are anymore. Because
Mm-hmm.
you have this identification for such a long time, and it's been such a big part of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, the way you speak, maybe the way you're dressing, maybe the way what you believe in. And
Mm-hmm.
when that identification falls away, you're left with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be really scary. So just think about it. Think about the Buddha, like literally not being identified with anything, like not even with being human. I think that's such a level of disidentification that is just, it's really hard. It's really, really hard
Mm-hmm.
to do because it's really scary.
Mm-hmm.
But you were talking about these identities, and when you're children and then when you're a teenager later on. So connected to this idea of this identification. In biopsychosynthesis, there's also the idea of subpersonalities.
Uh-huh.
So subpersonalities is like these parts of ourselves that identify with this and that,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea is that these subpersonalities have feelings. They have feelings. They have certain beliefs. They have certain
Mm-hmm.
ideas, and they feel very strongly about them. It's not just something very shallow. It's something that feels very, very identified. So when we are identified with that subpersonality, we are in it. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned you mentioned anger. So for example, when we are identified with a part of us that feels angry,
Angry.
you are in the anger. Like the anger
Mm-hmm.
is literally who you feel in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to step out of it. It's like you're in the middle of the storm, the eye of the storm,
Mm-hmm.
how they say it in the middle, and
Uh-huh.
it's very hard to see something outside, and you can't even. So this idea of disidentification is about getting to a place where you develop so much awareness
Mm-hmm.
that you can actually disidentify from this anger. You can disidentify from this resentment or feeling
Mm-hmm.
like a victim, like from the pain. So it's really, I think it's really intense work, but I think it's really worth it because
Mm-hmm.
it's it can give you a sense of um, I know it's unsettling, like I said before, but it gives you a sense of freedom in a way that it
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't know, it just feels, I think it feels quite nice to experience sometimes, that not allowing your anger to control you.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
I'm
kind
just
of,
asking your ideas because we can see this in both ways, right? For example,
okay.
there are even disorders, no identification, no personality
Mm,
disorders there are, right? Or bipolar
yeah.
disorders. Some people
Mm,
can have like 10 personalities, right?
yeah.
Or some people like really lose it at some point. It's very sad. And
Mm,
then like in the for example, like uh, some person goes through a divorce maybe, or lose their job or
mm,
wealth or something. And the idea of that personality, I'm telling in the opposite direction now. So please tell me your ideas and what you have seen through the years. And so that also can happen. Some people, like when they are stranded, they have some the people feel like ending it all, no, because they have
yeah.
nothing. They feel like lost and no
mm,
hope or anything, and because they had something before and now it's gone. Maybe they were the mother or the father of that family, and they were the children for some reason. They are not there anymore, or these could be elder people, and they have now they seem like purposeless or no value, or they could be retired from their profession, or they lose their job, and then
mm.
that identification that came with their profession and specific title is no more, right?
Well, I think it's something that we usually do. We're humans, aren't we? We need to identify with something. We
Uh-huh.
can't. I think it's our minds just need to feel that you're. When you look at somebody, you're trying to look and see how they are. You're trying to figure out where they're from. What are they man or woman? Are they white?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what you kind of have in your mind, right? What makes you feel a bit more comfortable. So we do have these ideas. Okay, trying to first of all to put things in boxes. I think,
Mm-hmm.
but also to kind of see how the person is identified. But I think I'm noticing right now that I'm a bit careful of how what I'm going to say right now, because when it comes to people being identified with with what, like what you said, when someone loses someone that they really
Mm-hmm.
love, or maybe they lose a job, or it's really hard. It's really
Mm-hmm.
hard because it basically challenges your whole reality, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because until that moment, that thing was pretty much everything that you knew, and
Mm-hmm.
then something is just taken away from you, and it requires a it's almost like it's a death in a way. It's a
Mm-hmm.
death of an old self, isn't it? The old you is not there anymore. The
Mm-hmm.
you that knew the other person, or the you that was identified with someone else or something else, is not there anymore. So there's almost like that this period of letting go is really hard, because it's grieving in a way. You're grieving your old self, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Sure,
grieving
sure.
what you lost, and it can be quite hard.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not surprised that people, for some people, it can be really overwhelming and really difficult to deal with.
Mm.
And yeah, it can
And
be
some
pretty,
people turn into like alcohol or drugs just to forget about it, right?
yeah, and even suicide. I mean, the cases of
Even
suicide
violence, no?
have gone up, yeah. So I think it depends on the person, and depends on their life experiences. It
Mm.
depends on so many things. It depends on how they grew up, on their culture, on their environment, on their spiritual beliefs. It's basically everything makes us who we are.
Mm.
So
And
it's
yeah, even like even disasters made by man or even natural disasters, because we
mm,
work in some war zones also. So then you hear the stories and of these people, it's you feel uh, it's very how to say, you feel it, no? We also
mm,
feel it, no, when they tell. And then so at one moment, like everything was just gone, but some were lucky because they could save their family members and all, but some were not that, and then there were like one or two left of it, no? And
mm,
even in natural disasters this happens, so the whole idea of your world and everything just crumbles, no, just shatters when you realize, no, maybe you are unconscious, even then you suddenly uh, when you wake up, it's no more, huh? And it's with
yeah,
in a very tragic way, right? For some
yeah,
people, even like uh, I'll try to take it to the positive side also, huh? Slowly. And yeah, so even some people meet with the accident, and sometimes they lose all their memory, no, they cannot
mm,
even recognize. And with
yeah,
old age also this happens. And like even when we are asleep or people sleep, uh, so you forget, no, sometimes like how your body is, because if you fall into deep sleep, uh, and as children also it happened, and as adults also sometimes people get up with maybe a neck pain. But if you're
or
conscious and you feel like something is twisting or something, you try to fix it quickly. But here you wake up with a no, some twist in the neck, because you didn't know much about your posture even. And the worst is like you can have nightmares maybe. Uh,
mm,
and even broad daylight people have hallucinations, this kind of stuff. and they forget, right? Oh, there's even forgetfulness, no?
Mm.
How would you see those things?
Um, I'm trying to think about how to focus on, because I think when you were talking about this, there were quite a few different things.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, pick
So,
anything you like, yeah?
when you were talking about this idea of like going to sleep and disability, forget everything, I remember I was reading about something um, about the fact that when we dream, like when we dream, right, our conscious
Mm-hmm.
mind basically kind of in a way shuts down, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you have these dreams, and you have this. I like this idea that dreams are our way of the unconscious kind of talking to us about, you know,
Exactly, exactly.
what's bubbling there in our mind. So I like that a lot, and I
Uh-huh.
agree with it. But I think um, there was another concept in psychosynthesis, which I
Uh-huh.
think ties a bit into this, and it ties a bit into subpersonalities as well.
Uh-huh.
This idea of the higher self, and I like to look at it as the idea of the soul. So
Mm-hmm.
that's basically the essence of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about reincarnation and past lives. So I like this idea about the soul and this journey of many lifetimes that of the soul. And so when I this is kind of a long way of going, but where I'm trying to get to is that when I think about dreaming, I think about um, that basically is the soul that's doing the dreaming. This is kind of how I like to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's your soul connecting to, or maybe the soul trying to get your attention in a way through all of this, what's bubbling in your conscious. Um, but I forgot about the other things that you were talking about
So
now.
some
I'm gonna
like
have to ask
some
you
through
again.
like accidents, no, some people or they
Oh
can
yeah,
forget their identity, like who they are, sudden
yeah,
shock,
but it's different though, because like you were saying, people react different to different things.
Uh-huh.
I've seen quite a few things on the internet that, I'm amazed by the resilience that we humans have. I am amazed
Mm-hmm.
because you see these people who have accidents and they just manage to kind of come back.
Come back.
And you see
Uh-huh.
some of them, like without legs or without arms, and
Mm.
they go to the Olympics and they go and
Yeah,
do
no?
so many
Uh-huh.
things. So, and this,
Fascinating.
I find this really inspiring.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think we have this potential inside of ourselves to
Mm-hmm.
overcome anything. I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that we have the potential inside ourselves to overcome anything, because I think we have this idea of the soul, because we have this idea, we have, there's an essence inside of us that I think wants to experience this, different things in life.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about this idea of about identifications, like you say, and when someone loses something, some people have a different level of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a bit easier for some people to maybe overcome different things. Maybe they have different, people that maybe are there for them. Or I think it's kind of it's difficult to say, isn't it? Because it depends on the circumstance as well. So it depends on
Mm-hmm.
different things. But there are people who I think, um, yeah, some people who overcome it, and some people who find it a bit hard to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends. The way I see it, I don't think it's bad or good. I think it depends on. I do believe in the soul's journey, and I do believe that the soul wants to experience different things. And I know it sounds really harsh sometimes, and I try to. There was a long time that I tried to kind of think about. You see so many horrible things. How could that be someone that someone
Mm-hmm.
wants to experience? But I don't know. I like this idea of we are here to experience different things, and some of those things will be pretty horrible, will be pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
But does I've learned the most in my life through the stuff that happened to me that was the most painful.
Painful.
That's where my most of my growth has come from. It
Uh-huh.
hasn't come from sitting in bed and just watching a movie or
Mhm.
just, just being happy all the time. It didn't come from that. It
Mhm.
really came from working through the pain and working through, when I lost something, when I lost someone, something that I loved, when I
Mhm.
had something happen that I didn't really didn't want it to let go of.
Mhm.
That's where the growth was. That's where the growth is, I think, for me. So I
Oh,
think
wonderful.
this I did. Yeah, well, I think this is kind of how it is, isn't it, in
Mhm.
general? But we don't like it because it hurts a lot.
Mm.
And it's not nice, isn't it? I mean, nobody wants to be unhappy.
True.
Um, but it comes. I think it's part of life. I think this is one of the things that I think this is what we're missing in our society today. We have disconnected from this idea of hope
Mhm.
and faith. Not so much faith in something, but faith in ourselves. Then we can
Mhm.
actually can overcome this. Whatever happens, we can get through it.
Mm.
We can do this. We have what it takes inside of ourselves to do that. Um, yeah, we're much more resilient, I think, that we think we are than we
Mm.
realize. So, don't know. These are just kind of. I don't know if I answered your question, by the way,
No,
because
no, no,
I,
no. It's
I told
wonderful.
you I have a bit of a
No,
way
no,
of
no.
kind
It's
of
okay.
going like this.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So,
so nice. And recently in one of the discussions also there we were talking, yeah, like
mm,
about how people, like you said, how resilient they are, right? So
mm,
and they were there was a talk about some ancient master, and it was actually there was a article also, no, and one of his students had said it was named like a truckload of dung. Yeah, really, a
right?
truckload of dung, and then it said like think of a time like you come back home and then somebody has dumped like a huge truckload of dung right in front of your door, and what would your response be? So somebody might call the police, somebody would be like going around like shouting around who did this, no? And it says some people, okay, like there is this, and they would not try to point fingers, or if it's not even possible, maybe they take a shovel and it's
Yeah.
stinky and all this, but they start slowly maybe burying it in their yard.
Yeah, you
But
use it for your. This is the thing. If you use it in the garden for your plants, you can actually
yeah,
like.
yeah, no?
You
And
can,
then what happens is like slowly maybe one shovel per day, but
mm,
then the garden becomes very rich, because this is
yeah,
fertilizer, right? And
mm,
then the flower trees, the fruit trees, and everything starts like so growing so well. And then you
yeah,
have the flowers, and then the bees and the birds and everything, the fruit trees, and then you can even give other people. And not only that, the pile of dung is slowly reducing.
yeah.
And at some point, there won't be no more even. Maybe we'll try to search for some more, even, no? And to put to the
Don't
garden.
ask for more. Yeah.
Yeah, no? And then, so it was said like this
Yeah.
teacher, he was so good, it seems. And the
Mm,
student was telling, like, think of the amount of truckloads of dung maybe this teacher had to go through. But now he's like even offering the fruits to other people, no?
mm,
So they also
yeah.
can have that sense and no the taste and the fragrance and everything. But
Mm,
he had to endure like a lot of hardships.
yeah.
So like you said, no, like there are inspiring people and how they came through very difficult situations, and it really inspires no so many
Mm,
lives.
mm. Yeah, I like hearing about, these stories. It just makes me, I think when you hear about them, it just helps you connect with that
Mm-hmm.
hope and with that resilience, with the energy of hope, I think, with the energy of resilience, because we all have it, we can all connect with it, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
hard to do that when you're deep in your problems. It's very hard to
Mm-hmm.
disidentify from them. Yeah. I like that thing with the dog. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just get a shovel and start doing it. Yeah. Mm.
So, what do you think we should do? Like maybe we take the next part to next time. like we can take towards the opposite side. Like there are so many things,
What do you
even
mean?
in ancient wisdom had said, like we can slowly, how to say, take them out and slowly discuss about these things, or any specific topic or anything we can discuss.
What do you mean? You mean I don't understand. You mean now? Or...
No, 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 like maybe the next time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
sure. We can do that.
uh okay, yeah. So then for today, shall we wrap this up? And okay.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you so much, Andrea, for so wonderful insights and experiences and all this sharing. And it is a blessing to have you. And hopefully we can share all these wonderful things, when other people also can join in and discuss these kind of things. And next time we'll try to take it towards the opposite direction, how these are counted, like, no, and we can try to look into things like how people come out of these situations, or what ancient wisdom said about these things, because there are many explanations. And then how can we, like, the loss of self identity, like how to counter that. We can talk, no, there are so many subtopics also there. So
Okay.
yeah. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for
Thank you.
picking this wonderful topic also. And I wish everybody, all the other people also watching this, or maybe later on also who are watching. So please be free to join in and even contact us. I'll send put Andreas details, and if you need to directly contact, no, and hopefully we can meet again next week and have a wonderful discussion like this. Thank you so much. Have a good night,
Thank you.
and wherever you are from, maybe it's morning, daytime, have a wonderful day. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Okay.